I did like Stillmatic. Illmatic, I'm gonna go with it, but I think it was very close.
Yeah.
But I think for me, what might put it over the Illmatic over the top for me is really One Love and Memory Lane. Were just such detailed songs. Quick one, man. Android or iPhone? Primetime or Pine?
Oh, Android is prime for me, and I don't know if Apple will ever get off the bench. That's how I feel about it. Like, I'm strong in my Android convictions.
I'm right there with you, man. NBA TV or NFL Network? On-air talent, games.
Okay.
The original programming that they make with the documentaries.
You bring in on-air talent. NFL Network is just going around like, hey, we're looking for hot women who can either follow sports or maybe even actually know what they're talking about. Can you come up here and look pretty with a bunch of guys that used to play? Because I love NBA TV, but I'm not trying to look at 3D and Rick, I can't think of the name. Yeah, Rick Barry, and then the host on there. Like, and I love NBA TV. I love NBA. Like, this should be an easy decision for me.
Right.
But since
struggling with this right now.
Since you bring in all of those factors.
That's why I had to preface it.
Yeah, like, I do like NBA TV's, I can't think of the name of that show, where they get the panel of all the guys
where
up
they
there.
sitting in the lounge chairs and whatnot.
I do like that show a lot.
I've heard some great behind the scenes stories.
Yeah,
that I wouldn't be privy to otherwise.
So,
but we gotta look at the NFL Network, man. They let brothers with dreadlocks, with ED and
somebody need to look. He need to let that go. Okay, somebody he got like waves in the front part of his hair, and then it like recedes in the dreadlocks.
What about LeVar Arrington though?
I don't know what he doing either. It's like a blowout, and then he got like.
They keep him from that. They keep him from that one angle though. If you notice, whereas on the weekends, with the PMNM segment, you get to see the 360 on Marshall and Irving and all them. But anyway,
I don't. That's a tough one, man. I do think that NFL Network puts on some good documentaries. I
buzzer beater. You gotta make a decision.
NBA TV because I'm a homer.
So. All right, man. I wouldn't have went that way, but Primetime or Pine, A Tribe Called Quest or Outkast?
That's real tough. For me personally, I think Outkast gets more replay value, but they have a much larger catalog also. I think 3000 is one of, if not the best lyricist in the game, particularly who does not have an album out.
That's why I can't mess with him.
And again, Tribe, I was a little young when they were really in their heyday, so I know those songs, but again, like they really got two classic albums, and in comparison to Outkast, I still like, and maybe it's a factor of my environment. Like, Outkast is all over the place. Like,
shot clock winding down.
Outkast.
We had to come back to that one. I do have a 6-man for you that kind of came up, which is because I'm struggling with where you are. I told you you're a couple years younger than me, so it's kind of hard for us to be on the same page with our entertainment. Outside of the obvious Ray Donovan and the current stuff, I got my last Primetime or Pine, Talib Kweli or Mos Def?
Talib Prime, Mos off the Pine. He gonna get some minutes, but Talib's still out here doing it, and Mos, he's trying to do some political stuff outside of seeming crazy from time to time. He ain't making the pop.
Yeah, Mos, man, I'm just now getting into the Black on Both Sides album. I heard it. Album. Yeah, I heard it back in the day, but now I'm really
trying to experience
to dwell with it.
Yeah.
And
my Umi says, shine your light on the world.
Well, Mos is but like you said, Talib, his growth from Black Star forward, man, that dude has really put in the work, really done a lot of sparring, stayed really sharp, and really became a front man. So look, man, we're gonna get into this first break. Well, probably the only break, being at what time we're at, and then we're gonna come back on the other side with these with the NBA topics for the day. Be back in just a second.
Going for two, your number one source for fantasy sports with top-notch fantasy sports advice, an exclusive community forum, and some of the best and most knowledgeable writers in fantasy sports. Visit today at going42.com. That's going2.com. Going for two features NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, and more. And they also provide the best advice for your FanDuel, DraftKings, or daily fantasy sports site. Sign up for the Going for Two newsletter and get updates immediately through your email. And while you're on the site, make sure you check out the exclusive section, Why I Hate. That's going42.com, GOINGFOR2. Going42.com. Go visit and get the inside scoop of everything fantasy sports.
All right, welcome back to Pay Me No Mind. This is your host Wood back at you with my man G. I'm slipping, man. We actually should have Alabama and LSU on at this point. It is half past the hour, and we might even have a score already. Little reception by Alabama. Trying to get a score update. It is 0-0, and we're at the 7.5 minute mark on this Bama. Well, actually, LSU is in Tuscaloosa. So let's get into this NBA stuff, man. We got 6 or 7 topics. This probably should have been the final question because it's it involves the biggest team in the league at the moment. But the Warriors have opened up, white hot, doing some big things like we just mentioned in the first segment. A 50-point win. I remember last year, man, when they had that run, they had the point differential or winning margin of victory in points that was like on par with the Bulls, some of the old Lakers teams, and
because their defense
Celtics
was getting slept on,
right?
Yeah,
and it was like, well, even though they're in the same discussion as these all-time teams, there was still question about whether or not they would be the last team standing at the end. We know what happened. Now they've come out with 6-0. Like I said, a 50-point win versus a playoff team from last year. Man, you think these boys can break 70 wins?
No, I don't. I think there's several factors that go into that. I think that the talent pool, particularly in the West, is just much higher than what was in the East when the Bulls were doing it. But also, like we had kind of touched on earlier in the starting five, I think having Luke Walton as head coach loses you a few games that you win if you have Steve Kerr. I think there's some late decisions that he's just not experienced enough to call the right way. And so
that's a good point.
I think that particularly if Kerr is out until All-Star or later, there's no way. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought about it earlier when we were making that Growler run. One thing that we had to take into consideration, they played Houston already, haven't they?
Yeah.
Houston, new point guard. And that's a big deal when you have a new person running your team, taking the ball out of Harden's hand, for, the majority of the shot clock, 90-some% of the shot clock. Now he's waiting to get the ball. He's trying to fill time that, he's just not used to doing. Also, we have new faces in new places with the LA Clippers. They beat them this week.
That was a close game.
And they
almost lost that game.
Right. So I think the second time around that they see these Western Conference teams, like you said, some of these kinks will be worked out. The games will be more competitive. We just spoke about the deficiencies and limitations of a team like the Grizzlies. 70 wins. I'm not confident in saying that they could touch 72 like the 96 Bulls. If they do get into that area, I think it might just be 70.
I'm calling 55.
55?
55.
That's down from what, 66 last year?
Yeah.
That's a big dip. Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid to jump out there. That's like
It's a bold prediction.
that's like The Price is Right, and the dude next to you says $1. You know,
you like,
what do you
can I
do
go
now?
$1?
Yeah, you kind of shook now. And you kind of shot me with that one. 55 wins.
I'm factoring in Luke Walton, and I think teams figure them out this season. I think it's on the board as to what they do.
They're having fun right now. I will say this, and we can get into this. We can throw this one in there. What about them championship-wise with the repeat? What's your thoughts on them repeat?
I think it's a possibility. I think the Spurs are going to start off real slow and finish extremely strong.
Yeah, that's another team.
I think it's going to take LaMarcus a while to get used to this system. It makes him pass the ball more than he's used to. Like, there's going to be a significant decline in his numbers.
Right.
But I think he makes them a much better team.
Right.
There's going to be a lot less usage of Duncan. They got David West in there. Like, Duncan's going. There's going to be games where he doesn't play.
And that's what's kind of a wild card about the San Antonio is that they care nothing about the regular season.
Yeah.
We're gonna shuffle the lineup as we need to, and we're just trying to. That's kind of my West Coast team. Western Conference team, but they're just trying to get to the dance in that top 4 and not have to do everything on the road.
Right.
Good point.
Oh, yeah, I like them, and I still feel like Clippers need a backup point guard. I don't think Austin Rivers gets you there all year, but I like their team. I like the versatility. If they can get guys to buy into less minutes and less production, if Doc can be a guru in that sense, they're a good team too.
I think it's a good chance for them to do it. I do. I think one thing that we did that just kind of got swept under the rug, this was a team that was on the cusp of going down 1-3 versus, LeBron without his help, his major help. Also, people don't say much, but the jury is still out on Klay Thompson. He wasn't asked to do a whole lot in the finals. He did in the earlier rounds. He didn't really have to show up, and being that the Cavs really didn't have that defined secondary score, he didn't have any. He just slipped through that round and got a championship. I think it was one game where he busted out with maybe low 20s, high teens.
Yeah.
But we don't know what he does when the lights are the brightest and when it means the most. We really don't know what he does in the finals because that wasn't challenged last year.
Yeah,
so
Klay. Well, I don't feel like he's a question mark, but he has to do better. Okay, you got J.R. Smith and I can't even remember who their other 2 guard was last year.
Shumpert.
And Shumpert's a legit defender, but look, you got to get some buckets.
Yeah.
All right. And I don't care if you are switching off on LeBron every now and then.
But that's the thing. He wasn't even asked to get into that platoon of dudes that was thrown at LeBron. He just had the finals off, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a bad look for him.
But he did blow up in the first 2 rounds. He had a couple of good games, a couple of great series. But, so like you said, man, I don't know if I'm going as low as 55 wins because I don't know if that gets you in the top 3 in the seeds at the end of the year. I think they equal last year's total. I'm going to stay there. So, man, what's up with these divisions, man? I mean, we are just 6-7 games into it.